All right, welcome back to our, I guess, old time of Sunday evenings here on the Ballhawks podcast. Happy National Tight End Day to you, Christopher. And no, we are not talking about Ryan Hanks' baseball pants. I don't know if you've ever seen his baseball pants, but he's not a sleight of man. Like he's not a large man, but he's not a sleight of man, and he wears. They've got to be like junior mediums at the largest. And man, does his ass crack eat those pants up. So not tight ends in that sense, but football tight end.
Extra schmediums.
What's that?
Extra schmediums.
Extra schmediums, somewhere in that range. And I know he's listening. So if you don't mind buying some new baseball pants for next year, Ryan, we'd all appreciate not seeing the inside of your butthole when you're playing, basically.
Speaking of Ryan and baseball, as you know, you guys play ball against my boss, and we were talking the other day, and you guys didn't tell me. It turns out when Ryan was going through his bunt fest was against my boss's team.
Yeah,
and we were talking about it the other day, and she was laughing and talking about how much they were making fun of him and whatever, and she goes, "Man, guy's got the hairiest arms." And she's like, "I want to chirp him for it, but I don't know him well enough to do it." I'm like, "Oh, do it." I'm like, we all harass him repeatedly for always having a sweater on. Like he's just
I was going to say, if she did any sort of listening to our bench chirping him, there's numerous reasons why we chirp this guy. The vest that he wears under his clothes, aka his, I don't know, Chewbacca style body hair, we let Ryan have it all the time. Welcome, Chris. I don't even have to introduce you because here you are, your name is on the screen, and you are rocking your little bit of hair now, now that it's grown back in. How does it feel?
It's grown. I mean, it wasn't that short.
Where? It's not actually growing everywhere. Damn.
Yeah, it is growing back, but it wasn't that short. Cookies Be Good is back.
Oh,
doesn't matter if it's Mondays or Sundays. Cookies Be Good is always being with us. So we appreciate it. Cookies Be Good for coming back. Oh, you know, I was at Superstore today buying Halloween candy. I didn't think to check out the Superstore cookies. I'll have to. Oh. I guess we'll have to go back and buy more Halloween candy. That's what we'll have to do. That's the trick. So, it's funny. Nadine made a comment yesterday about how long my hair is getting already. So I guess I'm probably gonna have to go for a haircut again pretty soon here. But I don't know. Maybe I've been drinking collagen lately, and apparently that makes your hair grow. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But yeah, happy to be back anyways. Watch some football today. A little bit.
That's a weird intro right there. I'm drinking collagen, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, and tonight I'm drinking the pink.
Is it Kool-Aid, Chris? Let's be realistic here.
Nope, no sugar in this.
No sugar.
Sugar's bad for you kids.
I disagree. So you're watching some football today?
I watched some football today. Did you know that the NFL plays every Sunday?
Every single Sunday. You know what my favorite thing is? This is totally off topic. Well, kind of on topic, but I saw this on Twitter and I can't remember. I should have screenshotted it so I could give credit to the right person. But this guy posted that he tells his kids and his wife that he won't watch Wednesday night football so that he can watch Thursday night football. Like basically making up a day of football, being like, okay, you know what? Dad is not going to watch Friday night football today, but when Sunday comes, I'm going to, you know, that's our compromise. I'll watch Sunday night football, but I'll give Friday a break. You know, I can't watch football every day.
You know, for us Canadians, saying that has some truth behind it. Like if you're willing to give up Friday night football, you're not watching the BC Lions clinch a home playoff spot then.
Darn.
I also gave up Friday night football. 10 years ago, I gave up Friday night football.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Great tune.
I cannot hear somebody say the words "it's been a while" without that tune popping into my head.
It's true. There's certain songs that you just can't let go of every single time you hear it.
I don't think it's scientifically possible to not hear that tune when somebody says it's been a while. At least for a certain generation, right?
As soon as you said that, I was singing it in my head again.
Or like when somebody says Fitzmagic.
What did you say?
I said, or when somebody says Fitzmagic.
Oh yeah, whoa, Fitzmagic.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's back for season 2, folks. It's back. The man may not be playing football, but Fitzmagic, his legend lives on season 2.
And he's just as good of a broadcaster as he is a dresser and singer.
I need to start watching more Thursday Night Football because, like, I mean, obviously Richard Sherman's fantastic, but they've also started including Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah,
and like what they're doing is they're bringing Marshawn Lynch like into the city that's hosting the Thursday Night Football game, and he like goes around town and like checks out the city or whatever. Which like obviously like they have to pre-record it because Marshawn with a live mic is dangerous. Actually, I don't. Did you see that? I think it was yesterday. Yeah. He's at the Cal game, and I think it was with Justin Forsett with a live mic for ESPN, and that's dangerous. They should have known better. So that's why Marshawn is just here so he don't get fined. Like,
that was actually the Seahawks telling him what to say so they didn't get fined. Fun fact,
right? Yeah. But yeah, I need to start watching more Thursday Night Football so I can start catching those Marshawn segments because God, that man is hilarious.
He just says exactly what's on his mind, and he don't care what people think.
Zero filter.
Yeah.
I also always get a kick when I see Marshawn Lynch and I remind myself that I'm the same age as Marshawn Lynch. Like, I don't know how that's possible.
Because he looks like a grown man compared to you.
Exactly. Like, I look at Marshawn Lynch and I'm like, I am still a child compared to Marshawn Lynch. Like,
you got to be at least 50, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's got that old man strength by now.
Before we get into football, I got one more for you here. I don't know if you saw this. Probably not. Dan Orlovsky on Twitter, since we were talking about candy and Halloween candy, he tweeted out something that had people saying, just delete your account or you should get rid of your check mark for these takes. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, most overrated candy ever. Most overgiven for Halloween. Should he give up his blue check mark for that one?
Yeah. Like that's worse than stepping out at the back of the end zone.
It's funny because that was like the 4th comment down when I was told oh yeah, look what you know, like nothing to do with his food take, just like, yeah, shut up, Dan. This is what you did.
Okay.
By the way, I love Dan Orlovsky as he's one of the most just real, doesn't have any agenda, just calls things like he sees it. I really like that. But horrible food take. Are you out of your mind? They are always good. I don't care if that's the only thing my kids got. I would still be taking my dad tax of 50%. It's gone up this year, right? Inflation. I told them yesterday, actually. Said, just so you guys know, the tax, the candy tax has gone up to 50% now. And they both said, okay, Dad.
Yeah, they have no idea what that means.
Yeah. I did try to explain it to them. I said, for every 2 candies you get, Daddy's going to take one of them. And they still seemed okay because in end game, they're still getting candy, I think is where they're
at the end of the day, they still get more than they need. Do you want to take your peanut butter cups to the next level?
Oh, always. I'm listening.
Throw them in the freezer.
Yeah, I usually throw them in the fridge at least.
Yeah,
I think they taste a little bit better.
The chocolate gets like hard and like nice and cold, but the peanut butter stays soft. Like it's just they're like I throw pretty much all my chocolate in the freezer, but peanut butter cups in the freezer are absolutely elite.
A must.
A must.
Must,
And
must.
I was buying Halloween candy today, and I bring it all home. And normally I always buy the I think it's the M&M's Mars pack. So it comes with like Mars bars, Snickers, M&Ms, and peanut M&Ms. And I think Twix bars might be in there too, because Mars bars are my favorite. And that's what I always buy. And usually, I think it usually comes with like, because the Mars bars, they will keep them nut free.
Yeah.
So they'll like package them in separate plastic inside the box so they don't get cross contamination. And usually it comes with like 2 of those bags inside the box. And I'll just like pull one of them out and be like, this is for me. We'll hand out the rest of them. And so I bring all the Halloween candy home, and Nadine's like, what, no Mars bars this year? And I'm like, don't need them.
You know what? That's the same thing as when you come back from the beer store and they were only selling 5-packs, right?
I've done that many times. I like walk in the house, my case of beer is open already, and it's like, it's really weird. They were only selling 23 packs today. I
like what? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. She's like, oh, you weren't drinking it while you were driving? No, never.
No, they were just selling 23 packs.
We're selling 23. Yeah, one fell out. I mean, I saw some guy sitting there. I gave him one, and it just, you know, I was a good Samaritan that day. Child sitting there, here, little boy.
All right, let's get to some football talk before we get.
Yeah, there was NFL football today. It was Sunday.
Probably the biggest news out of the NFL this week was Panthers running back, or former Panthers running back, Christian McCaffrey was traded to your division, to the San Francisco 49ers. I should have written it down. I'm not the greatest host today. I think it was a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
It was a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in next year's draft, and a 5th in 2024.
Something about the Rams had offered a 2, 3, and a 5, and they couldn't pony up the 4 or something like that. So
I'm surprised the Rams had any draft picks to offer.
Yeah. I mean, they're dipping into 2030 by now.
Yeah, but yeah, it sounds like CMC was coming to the NFC West no matter what.
Yeah.
He's in San Fran with Shanahan. His dad's the original Bellatrix. So we'll see how that goes. Good luck to anyone with any of the 49ers players. I would say running backs, but I guess you kind of have to include Debo in that mix. So good luck with
going off today after not doing anything all season.
Yeah, I mean,
Debo had a really horrible day today.
Jimmy Garoppolo went full Jimmy Garoppolo, and like you never go full Jimmy. You should know better.
Half is bad enough.
Yeah. But yeah, it's that's definitely the biggest news of the week. I mean, it was rumored that when Matt Rule got fired that McCaffrey was going to be moved, and then it was like, no, he's not. And then all of a sudden it was like, bam, he's a 49er.
Yeah. Kind of just all the rumors I heard leading up to, like, basically when Matt Rule was fired, was the Bills were kind of a big suitor. And I've heard they were still a suitor towards the end. I didn't hear 49ers at all throughout the whole process. And then you kind of just like either turn the TV on or turn Twitter on, and there he was as a 49er.
It's not that surprising, because like last Tuesday during our That Helps No One Fantasy Cast, we were talking about Cam Akers, and I think Ted brought up the Cardinals or the 49ers or whatever it was. And I said, I'm sure the 49ers would love to be in the mix for Cam Akers, because they always seem to be in the mix for running backs. But there's no way the Rams are going to trade Cam Akers to the Niners. And then, yeah, again, like you said, kind of out of nowhere, like they weren't even a team that anyone was mentioning. I mean, if he sticks around there and he's there again next year, and Trey Lance comes back, that offense becomes really, really scary.
Yikes. You've got, oh my goodness, there's just so many explosive weapons on all levels.
Yeah.
I am a little surprised that the Rams didn't, and maybe they did. Like maybe we're going to see some news coming out later that they tried this, but for the Panthers to take back a guy like Cam Akers, who's still super super young, I'm not sure how all in invested they are on our Canadian boy Chuba Hubbard, but you know, having Cam Akers go back to potentially fill the role of not having that fourth round pick to give back. Maybe that was an offer. I'd be curious to know if it was,
but I mean, Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard look pretty damn good today.
Yeah. So maybe they just like the young crop that they have there. McCaffrey, a 49er, kind of sucks for you seeing the division get a little bit stronger.
Hey, you know what? It doesn't matter to me because you know who's in first place in the division right now? You know who's in first place? Seattle Seahawks, baby. First place. Let's go. It's definitely going to make the next matchup pretty interesting. I mean, Seattle's defense played pretty well today. They've played pretty well the last 2 weeks. So, if they can keep improving, it's going to make for a very, very interesting second round matchup between the Niners and the Seahawks, and I look forward to it. I think it's late in the season. I can't remember exactly when, but did you see the Panthers are rumored to have turned down 2 first round picks for Brian Burns?
I did see that.
Yeah.
I don't know what their plan is. Like maybe maybe they were just trying to clear, McCaffrey just signed that big contract. Maybe it's like new kind of regime coming in. We don't want, big contracts. We want to start young. We want to decide who we want to pay. So maybe he just never was on the table. I know it was kind of funny. As soon as Rule got fired, everyone was like, oh, like DJ Moore's going to get traded and this guy's going to get traded. Like everybody was just like picking all their good players out and being like, oh, our team can take this guy. And it's like,
yeah,
that's not how the world works. Like think about, during the off season, we were talking about, the Seahawks rebuilding. And I had brought up the idea of like, well, maybe DK Metcalf becomes available because you can get a ton of picks around him. And clearly the Seahawks were just like, no, this is a foundational piece going forward. Kind of like DJ Moore to, the Ravens or to the Packers or wherever those places are that need a wide receiver. And then we hear from the Panthers camp that DJ Moore is part of their future going forward. And I think a lot of people were like, oh, I feel so bad for DJ Moore.
Yeah.
As long as it's PJ Walker throwing him the ball, he'll be okay. If it's the other two doofuses, poor DJ Moore.
Yeah. I'm not surprised that Brian Burns isn't available. It's all like young, developed premier edge rushers are easy to come by, right? Sure, you can get 2 first round picks for them, but that doesn't mean that you're going to find another Brian Burns.
Right.
Maybe you end up drafting Malik McDowell or something.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, you can clear as much cap space for when your team is ready to compete, but at some point you need to pay some players to be good. So you might as well, waiting on a guy like that who looks really good, looks like a foundational piece of that defense. I can understand why maybe, 2 first round picks is great compensation, especially in today's NFL where like, one of the most electrifying running backs that we've seen this generation really is going for a 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, kind of just seems like a team was like, oh, we don't really have a first to give or anything. Would you take a 2, 3, 4, 5?
Did that surprise you that Carolina didn't get a first?
All the talks were that they were going to entertain offers starting with a first round pick. I guess when you think about some of the big names that got traded this offseason, like the Devontae Adams, the Tyreek Hills, and they were going for multiple firsts. Yeah, it kind of did. I know running backs have that shorter shelf life that you can kind of flip through them. But there are, I would say, 0 running backs like Christian McCaffrey in the league when he's healthy. He takes over games single-handedly. So yeah, a little surprised.
Okay. I personally was I think we all get so caught up in fantasy football and what these guys do for us in fantasy football and what we would trade them for in fantasy football that like we kind of lose sight of what's realistic. And I
Yeah.
think just based on his contract and his injury history, like he's played something like 20 games over the last 2 seasons or something like that. Like he hasn't played very much football over the last 2 years. Um, it just makes sense to me that a team wouldn't want to give up a first round pick to acquire a guy that who knows, is he going to stay healthy? Is he going to, I think has it been knees? I think there was a hamstring issue last year and then his knees and right. So it does make sense to me. He's got a lot of mileage on those legs and
Yeah.
um, he's struggled staying healthy and maybe that's a strength and conditioning thing, but and maybe San Fran has better strength and conditioning coaches, but that's another thing is like they don't have a very good record the last 2, 3, 4 years of guys staying healthy either. They've had a lot of injuries these last few years. I mean, Trey Lance was one of them early this season, right? Is it Nick Bosa last year? And then I think he got hurt again earlier this season. It wasn't anything too serious, but and then I know they've lost. I think it was Jaquiski Tart. Is he still there? They lost one of their starting safeties anyways. I think it's Tart. I don't pay too much attention to the 49ers, but yeah, so it that's another thing to be concerned about is can the San Francisco training staff keep McCaffrey healthy? So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting for sure to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Yeah. Speaking of injuries, I don't really want to talk about this, but I know it's inevitable. Injuries crushed and decimated some teams today. Breece Hall went down, JC Jackson went down, DK Metcalf, Mike Williams, Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase went back into the game.
He did, yeah.
But that's a slew of premier players that went down. And we know for sure that 2 of them are season ending.
Breece Hall is sounding like an ACL, right? Yeah. That's what I saw. And then JC Jackson was in an air cast and crying on the back of the cart. So that does not bode well for his future and him being able to come back. Mike Williams has said he's going to come back. He'll be back this season, he said. It sounds like he has a ankle sprain, which if that's all it is, he's super, super lucky. I don't know if you saw the play that he got hurt on. Oh, man. What's that?
Did somebody land on it or did he?
No, he was getting tackled and it got caught underneath him and he got twisted and pulled. And yeah, so I'm that he didn't injure his knee as well was surprising. And then DK Metcalf, that was weird because they showed him on the back of the cart. He's got the towel on. He smiles at one of his teammates and goes, I could read his lips and says, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm good." And you could see his one knee was bleeding. So I don't know if it was just a laceration or what it was. But then after the game, Pete Carroll said x-rays came back negative. We're going to have to bring him back home and get him checked out and figure out what this is. So hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully there's no ligament damage or tears or anything like that. But the great unknown is almost scarier than knowing what the injury is, right? With guys where you know what it is, it's like, okay, well, they're going to go in for surgery probably tomorrow and start their rehab process. Whereas DK tomorrow, they're going to have to do more research to figure out what's going on and what's hurt and what's the diagnosis and how long is he going to be out, if he's going to be out at all.
Yeah. It's like you have, take Mike Williams has an ankle sprain. If that's a high ankle sprain, that's going to linger and it's going to get re-agitated. You almost wonder if like a clean break would be a better thing. Like you're out of the season, you're rehabbing it, you're good to go, as opposed to a guy fighting through we're on week 7 right now. These guys still have 11 weeks plus if you're in the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Playoffs to
Talking
be
about
through these.
not being able to hear it's been a while. I can't hear playoffs without saying hearing playoffs.
Obviously the big one for me, it's been no secret that I am all in on Breece Hall in fantasy football. Traded for him or acquired the rights to the first overall pick, took him both times. On our Tuesday That Helps No One fantasy cast, we were talking about the fact of, is it too early to start panicking with Breece Hall? It's when him and Michael Carter were getting basically the same amount of touches. He really started the year off, I don't know if slow is the right word, but not as that kind of true bell cow that everyone wanted him and drafted him to be. And then, over the last 4 weeks, this week included, I mean, he had 72 yards and a touchdown. His big run, he busted one off. And I was like, okay, I might have a chance this week in fantasy football. And as soon as I thought that, I get a message from Chris that says, and Breece is out too, by the way. I'm like, oh, this isn't good.
I only found out because I had him on my I've been playing daily fantasy lately.
Yeah.
And like a degenerate gambling. And I had him on my daily squad today, and I got the notification that he was injured and out for the game.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I sent some people, a screenshot of my roster. I've got J.K. Dobbins, who just went out. I have Breece Hall that went out. Who else do I have? Jameson Williams I have stashed on the IR. John Mechie stashed on the IR. I have Nico Collins, who also went out. My team, I should rename my team to the Band-Aids.
If it makes you feel better, I have Rashad Penny on the IR. I have Javonte Williams on the IR. I had Amon-Ra St. Brown go out today with a concussion, which is his second injury of the season. So he's probably going to miss another week, I would guess. Mm-hmm. So I'm right there with you, pal. And I'm 1-5. So
no.
What's that?
Difference between our teams, Chris, is my team is stacked like pancakes. I am trying to make a championship run, and I just keep getting, just every move I make, someone is chopping the legs right out from, literally chopping the legs out from my guys. So no, that doesn't make me feel better whatsoever. That your crappy team also has injuries and you are retooling for next year. So
well, we play each other next week, so we'll see how crappy my team is then.
Tell you what, you start one IR guy and I'll do the same.
Wouldn't we both get disqualified then? Isn't there league rules saying don't do that?
Just to piss someone off in the league. All right, one last one, then we'll start with some Seahawks today. Should the, I guess, golden oldies have walked off into the sunset, guns ablaze, and we're talking about Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady suffering devastating losses today. Is it that bad?
I think yes, they should have. They should have packed up their MVP awards. They should have packed up their Super Bowl trophies, and they should have ridden off into the sunset, especially Tom Brady. Like he came back with I mean, obviously aspirations to win one more and just I don't know. I honestly don't know why he came back, but when his basically entire starting offensive line got hurt in training camp, right then and there, he should be like, nope, I'm out. Psych. I retire again. Like, he should have packed. I mean, saying I don't know why he came back. I do know why he came back, and that's because they were trying to. There was the whole thing with trying to get him an ownership stake of the Dolphins and then force a trade to Miami and yada yada yada. But yeah, once injuries started happening there for his offensive line, and have continued to happen throughout the season, Tom definitely should have packed up and left town. Aaron Rodgers has nobody to throw the ball to, which is his own doing, and I find it absolutely hilarious. He demanded all that money to come back for one more year. And the Packers were like, okay. And then they're like, we can't afford Devontae Adams anymore, so we're going to trade him. So, which I think is hilarious because I love seeing Aaron Rodgers falter. I love seeing him mad and doing poorly. It really makes my NFL Sundays.
Now I'm going to actually come to the defense of Tom Brady a little bit. He did have a mega touchdown from Mike Williams, just blatantly dropped. Again, fantasy was not
Mike Evans.
Or Mike Evans, sorry. I'm still looking at the writing of Mike Williams. That's how my fantasy day started today, by looking up on Twitter, and every other person was like, wow, Mike Evans just dropped the easiest 75-yard touchdown. Like, no, I didn't actually need those points. Yes, I did. So Brady would have had another 75 yards and a touchdown, and it would have altered the way the game went because it was so early. Or at least I believe that touchdown was kind of like, I don't know. It shifted the whole game. He would have ended with like almost 400 yards and a touchdown. So,
do you think his team is starting to tune him out? Like, did you see the video of him screaming at the offensive line like a week or two ago? Like, I think they're just starting to tune him out.
Now, I haven't looked at like the hurries or anything like that, but I did see that he only got sacked once today. So maybe they're not tuning him out. They could not put points up. And yeah, I honestly think, like, when you drop such a sure thing like that, but with your most trusted guy, it's got to mess with you just a little bit. So, anyways, let's get to some fun stuff, Chris. Both of our teams went away with victories. That's actually all I care about. I've always said, don't give a crap about fantasy football if it means the Ravens win. So let's start with
damn right. Back-to-back weeks. We're starting with the Seahawks. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, just because I had a really fun fact for you. I was trying to think, like, Chris always comes up with fun facts. You know what? I'm coming up with a fun fact for the Seattle Seahawks today. Your boy, K9, Kenneth Walker, reached his top speed of 22.09 miles per hour on that big run. Fastest speed reached by a ball carrier this season. Dude's got some wheels.
And it was on a wheel. Mention that, you jerk. Stealing my thunder.
Here.
Stealing my thunder.
I have him on my other fantasy football team, and I was like, whoa, okay, there's one of my keepers for sure.
Yeah, I was in the middle of preparing stuff for dinner during that touchdown run, and I like ran into the living room, which, I mean, you've seen my house. I can see my TV from my kitchen, but I still felt the need to run from the kitchen to the living room, and I was like jumping up and down, arms in the air. Like, my wife was making fun of me. My daughter was laughing because she thinks it's hilarious when I yell and scream and hoot and holler at the TV during football. Carter doesn't care. She's like, what happened? I
want to yell too.
Yeah, what's going on, Dad? Did someone score a touchdown? Like, he's the funniest kid. He'll be like, "Oh, did someone score a touchdown?" I'm like, "Yeah, buddy." He'll go, "Oh, woohoo!" Like,
you're like, you need to really up your like enthusiasm game here, Carter.
Yeah. Well, and then they'll show the replay and be like, "Oh yeah, Dad, Seahawks, another touchdown."
Only I could live in your mind during some of these losses, buddy.
I would love to live in Carter's mind for a day, because I don't understand the way that kid thinks. He had a bath today, and Nadine was giving him a bath and Olivia a shower while I was making dinner. So she was kind of bouncing back and forth between the two bathrooms. And she goes back into the bathroom where Carter's having a bath. She yells down at me. She goes, "Carter decided he wanted bubbles in his bath, so he poured bubble bath into the bath while I was checking on Olivia." I'm like, oh my God, of course he did. Of course he did. Like, tonight he's having cucumbers with dinner tonight, and he stacked like 5 of them on his fork and took a bite, all 5 at the same time. I'm like, Carter, that's how you choke on food. And his literal reaction was, yeah. He just shrugged his shoulder. I'm like,
I could
dude,
see you being like that.
I'm like, do you not realize? Like, a couple weeks ago, I don't know how he got into the children's Advil, but we have children's like chewable Advils, and he somehow got into them, and he stuck at least one in his water bottle, and it dissolved in his water. And the only reason we found out is because Olivia took a sip of his water and goes, "Mom and Dad, his water tastes like my medicine." So then I like open the lid and I smell it, and we're like, "Dude, what the?" So yeah. Anyways,
Wow.
that's the life of my 5-year-old.
So bubble baths isn't a bad alternative.
Yeah, man, he is just something else, that kid. So, anyways, yeah, I mean, Seattle went into LA today to play the Chargers, which I always find it hilarious watching games in LA. LA doesn't have any fans, whether it's the Chargers or the Rams. So all I could hear today was Seahawks fans cheering. It's like I even heard a Seahawks chant going at one point in time during the game. I actually tweeted partway through the game, "Hey Seahawks fans, I hear you." So that part was pretty cool. I also thought it was pretty funny that we traveled to SoFi Stadium twice this year, but of course to play two separate teams. The whole sharing stadiums. I guess we played both. We played both New York teams this year too, but I think they're both in Seattle. Anyways. My mind is all over the place as well, as you can tell. Yeah, going into the game. I mean, Gabe Jackson was out, starting right guard. Other than that, Sidney Jones was inactive today. I didn't see why. I didn't see if he was hurt, if he was a healthy scratch, or what's going on. Wouldn't surprise me if he's a healthy scratch. I mean, with the way Tariq Woolen, Michael Jackson, and Kobe Bryant are playing, there's only room for so many guys, and I doubt Sidney Jones plays special teams. And even then, there's going to be even less space for him when Trey Brown comes back. Like, that's the thing. Like, Seattle's secondary is playing really well already, and Trey Brown is still sitting on the pup list, just sitting there waiting, just biding his time. So I'm really excited to see that. I saw an interesting tweet the other day actually about Sidney Jones. Somebody was like, trade Sidney Jones plus a whatever draft pick for Elijah Moore. Which, I mean, in theory sounds great. I mean, Seattle's been searching for that number 3 wide receiver for a number of years. But I was like, why would the Jets want Sidney Jones? They have DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner, and I don't think that the depth behind those two guys is really that bad. So I don't see why they would have a need for a guy like Sidney Jones. But it was an interesting, I guess, trade proposal anyways. Story of the game today, I mean, the first 3 Chargers offensive possessions, first possession ended on a turnover on downs. They had a 4th and inches in Seattle territory, and Brandon Staley loves to go for it on 4th down. Went for it, ran it straight up the gut. Big Al Woods just stuffed Austin Eckler and pushed him backwards. Chargers' second offensive possession ended with an interception. Third offensive possession ended with a strip sack recovered by Darrell Taylor, who caused the fumble as well. So Seattle jumped out to an early 17-0 lead, and I was just sitting there and laughing, like, "Holy, this is really how this game's gonna go." And then all of a sudden, it was Seattle's turn to have some turnovers, and Geno threw a pick, and then there was the terrible. They put D. Eskridge in the backfield for some reason and tried to run a pitch to him. So Geno pitched it backwards. D just didn't even catch it. He just dropped it. So then that was and Khalil Mack picked it up. So all of a sudden the Chargers were kind of right back in it. But Seattle just, they kept their foot on the gas, and they didn't, let the momentum swing affect them, and they stayed in it. I'm super impressed with the way the defense has played. Like I said earlier in the episode here, these last 2 weeks, the way the defense has really stepped up and they're playing better. Yeah, they gave up a garbage time touchdown today. They after the Kenneth Walker long touchdown, the defense just kind of said, "Yeah, Chargers, do what you want. We've got a 3-score lead. Like we're not worried about it," type thing. Just nobody get hurt type idea.
And fantasy managers everywhere who are playing against Austin Eckler were probably so choked with that.
Oh yeah, probably.
One of the worst, where you're like, oh, okay, this team is like basically doing nothing, and then the defense just plays all prevent, being like, fine, come down and score. Like, we don't really care. Thank you so much for that.
I still hate Mark Ingram to this day for scoring a garbage time touchdown. When the Saints were actually leading, and he scored the garbage time touchdown when they just didn't need it. Combination of the yardage and the touchdown sank me, and it was in a semifinal matchup. Tyler Lockett still doesn't want to get hit. I don't know what the hell is going on there. He was kind of invisible today. I don't know if he was just getting shadowed or if Geno was gun shy to throw him the ball after that early interception, because the early interception went off Lockett up in the air and was intercepted by a linebacker. I think he ended the game with like 23 yards or something like that on like 3 or 4 catches. So not a great day for Tyler Lockett. However, Marquise Goodwin stepped up huge in the absence of DK Metcalf. As mentioned earlier, Metcalf went down today with a knee injury on a. I mean, I don't even know where he got hurt there, but it was on a sideline throw. He jumped up to catch the ball, came down, tapped his toes in, didn't come down with the catch, which kind of sucked. But yeah, like I said, he didn't seem to get up limping. He didn't get up lame or anything like that. So I don't know where the injury really came from. But yeah, Marquise Goodwin came up huge. He had 2 touchdowns today. Geno Smith really seemed to be looking his way after DK exited the game. I'm sure part of that has to do with JC Jackson leaving the game as well. But his at least second touchdown, actually, no, it had nothing to do with JC Jackson leaving the game. I take that back, because Marquise Goodwin's second touchdown was on JC Jackson. That was the play that Jackson got hurt on, actually, which oddly enough, same corner, same pylon, same play that DK Metcalf got injured on.
Oh, interesting.
So, turf monster, man. There's a turf monster.
I know Staley, I think it was last week, had said, people were asking about like why JC Jackson got benched in last week's game. And he was like, well, he's not playing up to the standard that he knows he's capable of. He's not playing up to the standard we're asking of him. So to me, like, it's a big name signing that they got. They signed him to a huge contract. He's just not playing like he did in New England for some reason. I don't know whether it's I haven't watched enough Chargers stuff, and I didn't watch enough Patriot stuff to know the difference. That'd be kind of interesting to see his snaps with New England, how Bill used him as opposed to how Brandon Staley's using him. But he doesn't even look like the same corner, and clearly now he's what a terrible first year for a guy in a new uniform.
Yeah. Seattle's D-line is looking like a totally different defensive front than what we saw the first 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season. They were getting a lot of pressure on Herbert. They were, if they weren't getting home, they were at least getting their hands up. I think they batted at least 4 passes down of Herbert's today, right at the line of scrimmage. I mean, the biggest defensive problems for Seattle right now is still coming from the linebacking. Cody Barton shouldn't step on the field, as far as I'm concerned. He's been just brutal. Jordan Brooks has been okay. He hasn't been as good this season as I feel he was last season. And to be fair, he does have big shoes to fill. And I don't think anybody's going to fill Bobby Wagner's shoes, but That's a lot of pressure on Jordan Brooks right now, and he's not living up to that expectation. And as Steve, stole my thunder right at the start here, Kenneth Walker, man, my goodness, that guy is just so much fun to watch. And I keep saying it, and he is proving it time and time again why the Seahawks used the 41st overall draft pick to draft this guy. I think he had less than 5 carries for negative yardage today. Unfortunately, one of those 5 negative yardage plays was a safety. But he makes something out of nothing. He looks like he's going to get tackled in the backfield, and he at least gets back to the line of scrimmage, or he'll gain 1 yard, or he'll somehow dip and dunk under a guy and gain 5 yards. Or, I mean, did you see the 74-yard run?
I feel like I watched it once, but I can't remember what there was. I think there was like a linebacker or a safety that came down. It almost looked like kind of like a running wheel route, essentially, out to the strong side. And it looked like maybe there was a defender that almost had him tackled like right at the line of scrimmage. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't have photographic memory, so it looked like a stretch play almost, and they just took it around the right side, and it looked like there wasn't much there. And then all of a sudden, he just saw a hole, and he just shot, and he just burst up field, and he was gone. Yeah. Khalil Mack tried one of the Chargers. If there had been like 10 more yards, I think the Chargers DB probably would have caught up to him. But it was phenomenal. His first career 100-yard rushing performance in the NFL. Second rookie running back in Seahawks franchise history to have 150 plus rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. The only other rookie running back to do it was Kurt Warner, I believe, was the stat on Fox today. And no, not that Kurt Warner, kids. Kurt with a C. I keep saying it, and I keep saying it in the group chat, and you guys probably want to tell me to piss off and shut up, but like Kenneth Walker is him, man. Like he is so good. And he's going to be a lot of fun to watch for years to come in Seattle. And he's only 22 years old.
Yeah.
So like
he's kind of got that, like what I look for in running backs, especially like if we're talking fantasy football, is guys that have that ability, like you said, to not lose yards when they should, or to be able to gain positive net yards out of something where you're like, how did you were dead to rights, and somehow you made this -2 turn into a +4. Like, so you're not losing yards. I don't know the exact numbers, but him being on one of my fantasy football teams, I feel like he's scored the last 3 weeks and he's come pretty close to 100 yards. And then obviously today over 100 yards, and he's really kind of just took off the last 3 weeks, eh?
He really has, yeah, and you're exactly right. Yeah, he's got 4 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks. Last week against Arizona, he had 97 rushing yards. The week before that against New Orleans, he had 88 rushing yards on only 8 attempts against New Orleans too. That's wild. So he's come close. But today he finally broke that barrier with 168 rushing yards on 23 attempts, so 7.3 yard per carry average. Seattle's got a tough matchup next week with the New York Football Giants coming into Seattle. Of course, the Giants are 6-1. Surprisingly, to me anyways, but Saquon's healthy, so that's helping them big time. Their defense is playing well, so it'll be interesting. It's going to be a real test for the Seahawks. Geno Smith revenge game though, so watch out for that. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge for Seattle next week to see if are they legit? I mean, which to even be saying that right now through 7 weeks of the NFL season is, questioning, are the Seahawks legit? 7 weeks ago, I would have been saying there's no chance. Like the Seahawks. I mean, 7 weeks ago, I was looking at the Giants game, thinking that might be one of the games the Seahawks could win this season because I didn't think the Giants are going to be as good as they are either. So, two teams that are definitely performing well above my expectations. I know the Seahawks are playing well above everybody's expectations right now. They're saying on the Fox broadcast today that their projected win total for the season was 5 wins all season. They're already at 4. So if they lose the next 10 games, I'd be very shocked and disappointed. But hey, draft picks, baby. This is the season of low expectations, and I went into this season with basically 0 expectations, and I was just watching football to just like, yeah, I watch football and I follow the Seahawks, but I wasn't super emotionally invested because I wasn't expecting a lot. And I tell you what, man, these guys keep playing the way they are, and I'm going to get more and more emotionally invested, and it's going to make the heartbreak even worse. So, but hey,
there won't be heartbreak,
or there won't be heartbreak. But anyways, Seahawks are 4-3. They're first in their division. Which again, who saw that coming at any point this season, let alone through 7 weeks. Big win this week, big challenge next week against the Giants, but and then we travel to Arizona and play the Cardinals again for the second time in 4 weeks.
Nice.
So, but let's jump over to the AFC North, and of course, your squad had a division rival matchup this week against the old Brownies. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, speaking of 4-3 teams that are leading their division, well, we've been saying this whole season, are our teams like oddly similar? Like they shouldn't be oddly similar, but they really are. Big win obviously came down to the very last play. It was kind of fun before the game. They brought out the 2012 Super Bowl team and they kind of honored them. And it's always fun seeing the crowd get really amped up with guys that are coming back. Like Ray Rice got a really big applause, which was kind of nice to see.
I'm actually shocked they included him in the celebration.
It was kind of nice to see. I mean, I feel like he's the guy that took all of the brunt of all the things, I guess, with a dark cloud over the NFL. And since then, they really haven't lived up to that standard, which, we've talked about before. It's super disappointing that, he paid his price, never got to play another down of football, justifiably so. It's just too bad the league couldn't follow suit. But it was nice to see him kind of, he was a huge part of that team. Get to come back in there and get a good ovation and
how ironic that they bring him back and he gets you, and we're talking about this and how he never got to play another down of football. Meanwhile, on the other sideline is Kareem Hunt,
Deshaun Watson is back practicing with them. Like, you couldn't be two further ends of the spectrum in there. Anyways, it was nice to see the old squad back, and they had them at practice talking about, what it takes to be a championship team. The big story of the day for me, both of our teams, surprisingly enough, was the running backs. Everybody and their dog was asking me on Twitter and DMs or texting me like, what is going on with Gus Edwards? Should I be picking up Kenyon Drake? How many touches will Justice Hill get? And I just did one of these. I don't know. Because
you didn't, because I was one of those people, and you did not just throw up, unless maybe you gave me advice and you did that with everybody else. But
no, I can't remember the exact words I said. But essentially, I didn't see this coming. I said Gus Edwards would be there. He's active. I did not think he would end the day with 16 carries. I think I can't remember who I was talking to. I told him maybe between like 6 and 8 carries was kind of my thought process based on how they brought J.K. Dobbins back and how they're dealing with him, having a little bit of a setback with his knee. I thought maybe they would be a little hesitant to get the old Gus bus rolling. But you messaged me after like his second carry, and we were like, dude, Gus looks like he's explosive. And he's never been a home run, burner, but he looked like the old Gus where he was, making strong cuts, taking a defender with him for a couple yards. And I cannot be more happy for one guy because, obviously there's like his story about how he even got over to America, how he got into the NFL. His injury, I think it was Jeff Zrebeck tweeted out. Yeah, I got it here. Edwards said he's lucky to even be playing. Said he tore his ACL, LCL, and had a hamstring tear. There was no middle grounds with Ravens injuries last year. So pretty much like the trifecta. Obviously, he still had his MCL attached somehow. That was basically my injury too. So I this one is like super relatable for me. I had a full ACL, a partial LCL. I just didn't tear my hamstring, and that was the only reason I got back to doing any sort of sports relatively quick. So the fact that he's playing football right now is a huge testament. And then he threw 2 touchdowns in there as well, which was kind of fun. Like
he threw for 2 touchdowns?
He did not throw for 2 touchdowns. I said throw in there 2 touchdowns. But nice try. Nice try. There was some weird stuff going on in there.
Trying to read between the lines, Steve. Just trying to read between the lines.
Yeah, he did not throw for 2 touchdowns. That would have been factually incorrect.
The Ravens had 2 running backs play quarterback today?
There was more than one person taking snaps under center. That's for sure. I was going to wait for it, but I might as well not. I think it was in the third quarter. I'm not 100% sure. There was a 4th and 1 play, and they had Mark Andrews under center. And I was like, whoa, are they going to sneak him? And the weird part was Lamar was behind him in like the H-back set. And then they had Pat, I'm pretty sure it was Pat Ricard in his classic like fullback offset to the weak side. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, never mind. They're just going to try and draw the defense offside. Classic move, right? And they give the one like fake hut. And I'm like, yeah, this is where they're going with it. Like, okay, you got to try something, right? And then they snap the ball to him and I go, oh my gosh, what is going on right now? And like my kids love it when I like stand up and start yelling at the TV and stuff like that too. And so it got the attention of the whole house. And he pitches it out to the weak side to Lamar, and Lamar runs as if he's, a running back like everybody is saying he is. The play ended up working because Ronnie Stanley seals the side. And the other side gets sealed as well and just carves this huge hole for him. And Lamar's not going to miss that. But what a weird play that was. It was a lot of fun. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you're looking at it right now.
I am,
it's
yeah.
Very attentive over there. That was a fun one to watch. Someone I saw was like, this is not going to help the narrative that he's not a running back guy. Stop that. And of course, like I just have to chuckle because I don't really care about those narratives anymore.
But like, good for Mark Andrews being able to get under center, get the snap, and like pitch it to Lamar. Like, I'm not saying quarterback's the hardest job in the world, but like that does take some cadence to be able to pull that off.
Because it wasn't just a regular handoff, like it's a pitch out to the side. Like Greg Roman was in his bag of tricks, and it was fun to watch.
I mean, Ron Bass could throw it a mile, but he couldn't pitch it 10 feet.
Very true. To stay with that narrative, Lamar only threw the ball 16 times today. And that was super strange for me. I don't know why that happened. It looked like maybe they were just that confident in the running game, which, Gus had, 66 yards, Lamar had 59, Justice Hill had another 26. It looked like they kind of decided on that game plan, and when it was working and kind of moving the chains and keeping the Browns off the field, they just kind of stuck with it. So it was kind of nice to see that, they weren't forcing anything necessarily. And you know I think Harbs after the game said something like, they asked him, why didn't Lamar throw the ball more, and he was like, well, sometimes to play quarterback, like, basically with the guy we have, we don't need him to throw the ball all the time, which is 100% true. Like, in my opinion, he's the best dual threat quarterback the NFL has ever seen by a mile. Don't take one of his weapons away from him to try and prove some narrative that, like, oh, look, he'll never be able to throw for this much. Well, we've seen him use his arm. He can use his arm. I don't really care. I'm happy with it. Um, Rashad Bateman returned today. He had 4 catches for 42 yards, 5 targets. It was just nice to see him back, to see him making cuts on that foot, being someone in the locker room that they can go to because wide receiver position is so thin already. I was a little annoyed with him on the one target that he didn't catch the ball. The ball was thrown to the outside. He was never going to make the first down, but it would have gotten Tucker closer. Not like Tucker really needs that, but every once in a while, like, you can't mess those things up. So he essentially does this kind of like out route, turns the ball's there on time. He looks over to try and make a play before he even catches the ball, and the ball just goes through his hands. Um, you got to make those catches first, then be a playmaker. All around though, I think that's a successful first day back from injury. Was happy with that. Justice Hill almost cost the team the game in the fourth quarter. They were up 23-20, and I think they were either in the red zone or they were close to the red zone of the Browns. A field goal would have made it so that they were up by just about a score. So the Browns would have had to march the whole field. And he fumbles the ball, and I'm like, no, this is how this game is going to end. Like, as if we haven't lost enough games where we were up by double digits. Let's shoot ourselves in the foot even more. Luckily, it didn't come back to bite them, but he's got to be better than that. And I think if you're a fantasy football player and you're wondering how to navigate the Ravens backfield, I think the fact that Gus is doing so well, mixed with Justice Hill, being that third guy or second guy, he's also a huge contributor on special teams. So I don't know if he's worth a pickup anymore. But it was good to see the offense rolling a little bit. On the defensive side of the ball, they had 5 sacks today, which was really nice to see. Finally, a Ravens team where they are getting to the quarterback and they aren't having to blitz on every single play. This Cleveland Browns offensive line is still one of the best in the league. They were without right guard Wyatt Teller today, but nonetheless, it's still a strong offensive line. So it was really nice to see them get to Jacoby Brissett, take him down. They also had 3 forced fumbles. And, there's that old adage, you win the turnover game and, good things happen. They definitely got to him. Justin Houston, just an ageless wonder. 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble. He looked phenomenal. Patrick Queen is absolutely flying around the field. I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago, how, he was just the most criticized Raven, biggest bust of a first round pick narrative. And he looks like he is flying around the field. His hair is on fire. He is amped up. It is so good to see him playing. it's like the game finally slowed down for him, and he just doesn't have to think, and he's doing what he did so well at LSU, and that's just react on plays, trust his film, trust his athleticism, and he is like he's seeing those holes and he is just running through those gaps to make plays. Really great to see. The play of the game goes to Malik Harrison. He, there was a little bit of controversy on this play. It would have been a 56-yard field goal attempt for Cade York, the kicker for the Browns. It looks as if the Ravens jump forward and it's going to be a neutral zone infraction. And the Ravens are all pointing to the center, and you can see John Harbaugh. He is like mouthing, the ball is moving. And so when you look at it really closely, the center moves the ball ever so slightly. And as soon as he does that, Calais Campbell sort of rocks forward. And I believe it might have been Justin Madubuike. I'd have to go back and look at the film. Also goes right into the neutral zone. And classic, everybody's pointing fingers at each other. No, it was you. No, it was you. There was another, I guess, different angle from it, and it looked like somebody on the far left-hand side of the line moved even earlier than the center moving the ball. So it was a true false start. You know me, I would call it as I see it. That one, the Browns jumped, Ravens jumped after. It's a classic false start. Sucks, Browns fans, but that's how it was. Malik Harrison, after he's in the locker room, he said he'd never blocked a field goal in his career until today. And someone was like, well, where'd you get this one? Thinking maybe he like batted it down with his hand. He goes, in the face. So he took the kick, the 61-yard field goal attempt, and those guys got a lot, like they have to drill the ball. Right, the further you are back, the further they line you back from the line of scrimmage, because you really have to line that ball in order to kick it 61 yards. And he takes one in the face to win the game. Good for you, Malik Harrison. And the Ravens come away with a much, much, much needed win. Next week we have Tampa Bay in Tampa. That one's a little scary of a game, not only because it's Brady, that's a good Bucks team, and they're going to be pissed off that the Panthers, who are basically in fire sale mode, and don't have their head coach, they're going to have to go on the road to play a really angry Brady team. But you know what? This will show the test of which Ravens team is going to be around this year. You want to make it to the Super Bowl. You think you're a Super Bowl team. Well, you got to go take down the GOAT. You got to do it on the road. The good news is the Ravens are 2-0 in their division. They're 4-3 overall, first in the AFC North. And it was just nice to get back on the win column, just like you, Chris.
Winning feels so good.
Winning involves a lot.
It does. Although losing, like I said, season of low expectations. Losing hasn't hurt that bad this year either. But winning feels so good. I'm disappointed you didn't mention the coolest thing of the entire Ravens game.
Oh, which one did I forget?
Ed Reed coming out like a boss. Full Lombardi trophy in hand, smoking a cigar on the field like an absolute boss. I love that man.
I mean, he's my favorite Raven of all time, so I will not disagree with you there. Yeah, good to see the old alumni back and bring back nostalgic memories of those players who were part of, the last Super Bowl they won. We're a little over time today, Chris. We've been quite chatty Cathy here, but we probably have enough time for a short "The Sky is Falling" segment. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Dealer's choice.
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay. I don't give a damn that the 49ers traded for Christian McCaffrey. Like I said, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to go full Jimmy more than once the rest of this way. Seahawks are winning the division, baby. Let's go.
Whoa, the Seahawks are winning the division. So I guess that's like sky is falling for the rest of those teams, hey?
Oh, is that an overreaction or not?
I think that's a massive overreaction. Now, don't get me wrong, the Seahawks have been playing well above their expectations. The problem with teams like that is, do they keep that level of play, especially when you've been talking a lot about the rookies, right? Like the rookie class of the Seahawks has kind of been like the entire team essentially. I still think the Rams have yet to find their stride. They were the Super Bowl champions. You cannot count them out. The 49ers I could actually see being the basement team of this division. I still see the Cardinals as well underperforming. Yeah, I think it's an overreaction. I still think the Rams will win the division. I just 7 games in only.
I don't even think the Rams are going to make the playoffs.
You don't think the Rams are going to make the playoffs?
I'm going to say Seahawks win the division, 49ers come in second, Rams in third, Cardinals in fourth.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's an even bigger overreaction. The Rams make the playoffs, but wilder things have happened.
Matthew Stafford is still Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, but he's not playing like he can. At least like they're gonna get that back. They're probably gonna make a trade, at least one before is the deadline next week. By the way,
I have no idea.
I feel like I saw that somewhere. The defense is just too good. I would have to go and look at their entire schedule. Let's see who they have really quickly here. They've got the 49ers. I mean, they have their bye week, so usually teams come off their bye week, refocus. They've had time to like figure out their X's and O's. They've got the Niners. They've got the Buccaneers, the Cardinals, the Saints, the Chiefs, the Hawks, the Raiders, the Packers, the Broncos, Chargers, and Seahawks. If some of those teams continue on their trajectory, like the whole AFC West, like the Raiders, the Broncos, the Chargers, that was supposed to be like the division this year. Like, oh my gosh, are all 4 teams going to make the playoffs somehow? Now it's looking like that's kind of like the gravy train if you're any of those teams. Yeah, the Rams are making the playoffs. You crazy.
Doesn't matter. Seahawks are winning that division, baby.
Okay. It's going to be really fun to go back at the end of the year and like pick all of our overreactions and see which ones we actually hit on and which ones were like, whoa, I actually said that on air. But I mean, the whole point is to be a little out there, right? Okay, here's mine. The city of New York is for real. The Giants and the Jets both win their division. Now, I know it's a little bit of a stretch for the Jets. I get that. The Bills are in that.
Goddamn Jets.
How did you have that just queued up? Okay, so the reason why, folks, I'm so shocked right now is Chris and I do not tell each other what our overreactions are. So the fact that he had that particular clip queued up, just ready to go for any Jets, good for you. That is a win right there, bud.
I love it because I think it was last week I wanted to say the Jets are going to win their division, but they're not because they still have Buffalo in that division. But I could see them making the playoffs.
Imagine that. Who would have thought this year the Giants and the Jets would be in contention for their division and both of them would make the playoffs? I guess that's why the NFL is like so uber popular, is because of the parity in this league. Like if you would have told me last year, even week 1 of this year, going into week 1, the Giants and the Jets are going to be a combined 11-3, I would have said, what are you smoking? Like, no, not a chance on earth. And I still think that's a little too. I don't think the Jets are going to make the playoffs. Actually, the Giants, maybe because the Packers and the Bucs seem to be like falling off of the earth.
Yeah.
We're gonna see.
I mean, right now, the city of New York certainly looks legit. So as football is concerned.
I really want to do a clip at the end of this season to see how off these overreactions are. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Jets can overcome the loss of Breece Hall. And I know that's a lot to say when, I mean, he's a rookie running back and they could figure it out. But I mean, he was a big piece of that offense.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Michael Carter's still there. He looks good. He was there last year though, and well, we saw how that year ended. There's something about getting like a guy in there, new blood, young blood, fresh faces that kind of just transform teams. And I think the Seahawks are a shining example of exactly that.
It's like the entire culture changed.
Yeah, it's like we're tired of being like the whipping boys, and it stops here. And I won't play for a team that, allows to be just bullied around. And
well look at what Dan Campbell's doing in Detroit.
Yeah,
right.
Like his prime thing was like, we're gonna bite off a kneecap. Like that was his thing. Like I don't care what's happened to the Lions of the past. We're turning a corner. We're doing this differently. We're going to be relevant, and people can laugh at us all they want, but just go have a look at our record. I mean, ironically, they lost today,
but their culture has changed for sure, and you can see it in the way that they play, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, what are they? They're 1-5 now. I think they're 1-5. So, like, on paper, you'd be like, has the culture really changed? Are they losing? But they're competing in games where, like, they're not just, we're playing the Lions. Like, let's have a win out of this one. So, I totally agree. We are quite a bit over what we usually do. Christopher, do you have any last words for the great people listening to the Ballhawks right now?
I just want to say thanks again, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of the Ballhawks podcast. Of course, as I say every week, go subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Give us a rating, leave a review. We love to see them. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a follow over on Twitter at ballhawks_pod. Like I said, Seahawks are winning the division this year. Overreaction or not, I'm taking it. And if they don't, well, I won't be upset either. So anyways, guys, thanks again for listening. And as always, go Hawks.